ربي زدني علما، ربي ارزقني علما، اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه، وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه، وتوكل الله وكفى بالله وكيلا. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, Subhanallah al-Azim. To be born human is to be born with two voices, two choices within us. One is the voice and the choice of Allah, which is Haqq, which is the truth. And the other is the voice and choice of Iblis, which is doubt. This, in short, summarizes the entire condition of the human experience. To be born with two voices within us, within ourselves. There are only two voices. And what is also valid is the fact that it takes us a very long time to begin to pay attention to the voice of Allah within ourselves, to the choice of Allah within ourselves. It is very valid that it takes us a very long time, and it takes us, having walked the path of doubt, to be able to discover our way back to the path of Allah. This part of it is also very valid, which is why it is called being human and not being called an angel. And this voice of doubt is clearly separated from the voice of Allah, because it was the only power given to Iblis at the time of his rebellion. The only power given to him, which is, okay, I give you the power to instill doubt in humans, and some will pay attention to it and some will not. So the fact that all humans are born with the voice of doubt is Haqq. And the fact that all humans are born with the voice of Allah is Haqq. And the purpose then for us becomes, how do we, first of all, acknowledge that no matter how loud the voice of doubt is within ourselves, no matter how loud, even if it is playing at like 1,000 decibels a second, like how loud, it doesn't matter. There is a voice of Allah that is also within us. And it may not be loud right now. It might even be on mute right now. But the fact that there's a voice of Allah within ourselves, the voice of Haqq within ourselves, is Haqq. They can never only be the voice of doubt within ourselves. There is also with it the voice of Allah. And yes, the volume may be low, but it is here. It is Haqq. It exists. And then the purpose for us begins to become, how do we begin to dial down the voice of doubt and dial up the voice of Allah? But for that, what we're asked to do is be aware of the voice of doubt versus the voice of Allah. Be aware that there are two voices, and that the choice that we have is to listen to the voice of doubt, and then decide to not listen to it and shift your attention deliberately. That's free will. That's free will. So the fact that there will be a voice of doubt, you recognize. So no matter how strong our iman, no matter how strong our faith is, because qalb, the root word of qalb, is the one that constantly turns. The root word of qalb is the one that constantly turns. And that means that qalb in its nature is meant to be in a state of movement. Our faith in nature is meant to be in a state. It is not static. It's in a state of movement. And the reason why the root word of qalb is the one which constantly turns is because Allah Ta'ala knows that it will turn away. So it's made such that it will constantly turn back. The one that turns. It'll turn away, but it turns back. It'll turn away, but it turns back. So the turn away is the voice of doubt. The turns back is the voice of Allah. You see? So iman is not the absence of doubt. True, like tawakkul is not the absence of doubt. Tawakkul is the fact that we have tuned our inner hearing and inner sight so well that we can hear the voice of doubt and then also hear the voice of Allah. And the practice of dialing up the voice of Allah is the rest of our journey, the rest of our experience. Doubt always remains. Doubt always remains because Shaitan, Iblis, has been given this freedom till Qiyamah. It always remains, which is why it's something, Iman is something that you guard, you stand guard for. You protect like something precious and something fragile because it is. And yet inside within it, it's steel. But it is fragile because it is rooted in qalb, one that constantly turns away from the light of Allah, towards the light of doubt, towards the shadow of doubt, towards the voice of doubt. And the practice of Iman then becomes almost this person who's sitting in front of a performance on a stage. And there's one character that comes in and gives their version. And there's another character who comes in and gives in their version. Do we have the discernment enough to recognize which version is haq and which is not? To deny that one character, which is the doubt character, will not come on stage is not Iman. That is rejection, that's denial, that it's suppressing of an essential part, because what we're asked to do is fine-tune our senses to be able to differentiate between the two characters. And there are two characters. There is a war being fought. There is, which is why the nafs jihad of nafs ka jihad is supreme, because there is always an inner battle being fought. There is always an inner battleground activated, and it's always activated. And if we are told, and if we tell ourselves, nahi, I have won my battle, I have overcome, I have done the jihad of nafs, this is the voice of doubt again. That means you're being asked to go deeper, to fight a deeper battle. Because the battle never ends till your last breath. We are constantly on our inner battlefield. And we are being trained to train ourselves, to strengthen ourselves, to strengthen our resources, such that we can recognize the many guises of doubt as and when they appear, not if, as and when they appear. So the first thing to stand guard for and against is, are you absolutely sure that you are very, very strong in your tawakkul? If you are, this is doubt. Look again, pay attention. Because people who are absolutely sure of their iman and tawakkul have a deeper battle to fight. Because when you're absolutely sure of something, you know what you do? You stop caring about it. You take it for granted. You stop protecting it. You stop working for it. You stop reinforcing its boundaries. You stop building its resources. Because ye to ab hai na, ab kuch aur karte hain. But ye jo when we start taking our iman and our faith for granted, this is a voice of doubt. This is a voice of Iblis. Because remember, the root word of doubt is shak. And listen to the meaning of shak, right? Shak. It's a gap. It's a breach. It's a break. It's a crack. It's a disruption. Can you feel into it? That's what shak is. That's what doubt is, shak. It's a breach in the armor of our faith. And when we feel that we have bridged that breach, or we have fixed that gap, and when we become absolutely sure that I have done it, then that means that there's another crack here that you're not looking at. Because the job of us safeguarding our iman and our tawakkul, of constantly being aware, even when we are doing the hajjat, even when we are reciting Quran, even when we have, my God, cleansed our nafs, so to speak, and like given all kinds of forgiveness and taken all kinds of, whoever, wherever we are, in the lowest or the highest part, in the lowest or the highest part, we are still subject to doubt. But the doubt becomes more sophisticated. At a very low, at the same way that we all exist in dimensions, the different dimensions of doubt. At a very low level, doubt is kufr, right? You reject it completely, reject the other voice completely. That's doubt at its highest. Then the second degree of doubt, or the second dimension of doubt, okay, you accept, but then you have a lot of angst against the voice, the second voice that you have accepted. Because your ego is in battle now with the second voice, which is telling you, lay down your arms. But your ego is saying, no, I must fight, I must scream, I must hurt, I must wound, blah, 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 like I must defend myself, all of that. So all of those become the second degree of doubt, because we are not being able to pay attention to the voice of haq within ourselves. And it's, again, it's valid, but it is the second degree of doubt, still at a lower point. The third degree of doubt means that we begin to get afraid, as if it's, and this happens when we have woken up very recently, because we've been born, most of us, all of us here on this call, have been born in Islamic households, so we take it for granted, our faith. But even as Muslims, if we have not been practicing Muslims, if we've not really understood our faith completely, what waking up means is when we begin to return to Allah in our awareness. Jo ek kalma hamare, when we were born, there was a kalma that was recited in our ear and that made us Muslims. But when we begin to consciously choose being Muslims, that's waking up again. That's reverting to Allah at the second path, right? As an aware person. In that moment, when we begin to rediscover our faith, we begin to think of it as like a precious jewel or something that we're holding on to, and somebody from the outside is going to come and take it away. So we feel like we're constantly under attack by people, by things, and by other entities. And that's when we begin to give our power away. For example, मुझे नजर लग गई है, या for example मेरे पर जादू हो गया, या for example मुझे उन लोगों ने कुछ ऐसा कहा, उनकी बद्दुआ लग गई है. That's a third degree of doubt, as if when we are people of Iman, when we are people of faith, we've woken up to it, but we're feeling afraid now that we will lose it. So the fear of loss of what we have is a third degree of doubt. And I'm going from lower to higher, huh? So lower तो बिल्कुल ही नहीं था, उसके बाद हमें आना शुरू हुआ, but हमने उसके साथ रिबेल करना शुरू किया, और अब ये थर्ड है जहाँ पे हमारे पास आ गया, लेकिन हमें संभाला नहीं जा रहा. हमें लग रहा है कि हमसे छिन जाएगा, वो ले जाएगा हमसे हमारी चीज़ें. Because, and that especially happens when we attribute, when we are very selective in the Allah that we love, because all the blessings that we have, we attribute to Him. But any tests or trials that we have, we say कि नहीं ये तो मेरे साथ वो गलत कर रहे हैं. So when we don't understand the Creator, and we begin to kind of differentiate between the parts of Him that we like and the parts of Him that we do not like, that is the opening, the gap, the breach for doubt to enter. You see? Because we're not fully connected, we're fully not in sync with our Creator, there is a breach that tells us that there might be an outside force which will be now coming in and taking something away. And usually that outside force looks like people that we've given our power away to, but it's still doubt. It is still vasvasa. It is still doubt, because you see the most beautiful thing, and it is beautiful, because when you look into it, it is beautiful. The most beautiful thing about doubt or fear, and that's what Allah Ta'ala had told Iblis as well, and has told his Ummah, has told his Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, like, the most beautiful thing about doubt and fear is that it does not have any physical form. It is not a physically manifested thing. It is kala dhua, which might look so dense that it feels physical, but it's still not physical. Subhanallah. So the big power that we have given to, that Allah Ta'ala has given, power, air quotes, the big power that Allah Ta'ala has given to Iblis to instill doubt in our mind is still just dua. Has no physical form, can have no physical form. Where does it begin to manifest is our belief in that doubt. When our ears are tuned in, when our eyes are tuned into that voice of doubt within ourselves, away from the voice of haqq within ourselves. That is when we begin to feed that doubt, feed that fear. And that is when the doubt and the fear begins to get more real and finally manifest. It begins to get more dense and finally manifest in our lives in forms of blockages, and those blockages will be within our body, in relationships, in our finances, in our health, in our wealth, in our children, whatever those blockages may look like. But the origin of all of those blockages is, and I want us to really tune into it, is just kala dhua. It has nothing. And so, when you go and look at a beautiful old tree and you see its beautiful ancient trunk, and then you go within and you see how deeply solid and how deeply rooted its roots are, and those roots are solid and real and grounded within the earth, right? Subhanallah. But if fear or doubt were a tree, and tune into it, even if you have cancer right now in your body, which feeds on fear, which feeds on doubt, it feeds on the fact that Allah Ta'ala has rejected you, it feeds on the fact that your body is not going to heal. Even when you have that, go to the root of that cancer and you will not see any solid roots there. It will still be kala dhua. And when you go to the root of that fear, buried deep within the earth, which is just smoke, and you recite the kalama of Allah, you recite the charcoal of Allah, and you blow, or if you recite, just say, in the name of Allah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, and you blow on that kala dhua, which looks like roots, but it's kala dhua in the shape of roots. You blow on it, it'll dissipate, it'll dissolve, it'll disappear. And the entire structure of that tree that it was supporting will fall down with it, you see. The thing about fear and doubt is that it has no roots. It is an apparition. It is an illusion, floating, rootless. And even our strongest fear and strongest doubts, even if we have committed our lifetime to living within fear and doubt, it still will not give it roots. It'll give it a tree trunk. It'll give it branches. It'll give it the form of a tree. But when you go to the root of it, it still has no roots. Subhanallah, that's the raham of Allah. That's the mercy of Allah. Allah Ta'ala has not given Iblis, who has the power of waswasa, who has the power of doubt, whose power of waswasa and power of doubts ki Allah Ta'ala ne usko roots ki ijazat nahi di hai. Because this Subhan universe that Allah Ta'ala has created has no space for any roots other than the root of light to grow within its mitti. It does not have the ijazat of Allah. This universe is created on the principle of light. Its roots are in Subhan, principle of light. If the root is Subhan, then yes, because it is light, because light accepts everything, because light is afraid of nothing, it will allow many shadow structures to go within it. But those shadow structures do not have the izn of Allah to grow roots within His creation. Hamari ruh is not created by Iblis. Hamari ruh is rigged towards light. Hamari ruh is created by our Creator. That ruh cannot have roots of shadow in it. It can grow things of shadow, but it cannot have roots in it, you see. And so it is so easy. Look at the way, subhanallah, if you actually go to an alim of Allah, if you to a real alim of Allah, you know what they will say to you about jadoo? They will say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, recite the root. They do not pay attention to it. They're saying, what jadoo? What are you talking about? Recite charcoal, khatam. And you will give them terrifying instances of your whole life. You've experienced it. Yes, I'm not saying jadoo does not have extra, terrestrial, extra dimensional creatures. Because जब आपका एक gap, doubt is shak is a gap. When there is a gap in your energy field, when there is a gap in your energy field, it's an opening for creatures of light and dark, everybody to come inside. It is an opening. But pay attention to two things, please. One, it is a gap in your energy field. If it's a gap in your energy field, and it's been created because we have fed doubt and fed fear from our own weakness, from our own limitation, that means we also have the power to close that gap. And how do we have the power to close that gap in our energy field? By literally, if we're standing on that sitting in front of that stage, there are two characters on stage, and our eyes are glued to the character on the left, who's telling us, who has these long monologues on like nature of doubt and fear, how you will lose everything, and how if you don't do this will happen, if you don't do that will happen. All fear and doubt, wo pura monologue bol raha hai. All we have to do, let that character deliver his monologue. He seems to be very invested in it, and that's beautiful for him, and that's his job, and let him. All we have to do is, hey, wait a minute, there's another character on stage. For a second, only for a second, acknowledge that there's another character on the stage, and that character is silent, and he's just fully standing here. And the moment you lay your eyes on that character on the right side of the stage, who is fully silent and only standing there, he begins to light up, he begins to glow. He does not need words. When he begins to glow, you begin to glow. And your light meets his light. And then the words which are exchanged between your Ru and your creator needs no dialogues. The healing happens between you and your creator. All you have done is taken your eyes away from the character on the left side of the stage. All you have done. You have not done anything else right now. Subhanallah. This is free will. This is free will. Because if there were no contradictory forces, if there was no right or wrong, if there was no light or shadow, we would not have needed free will. And we've been given two gifts from Allah. And I will call them two gifts, fate and free will. Fate, gift of Allah, because he's created the master design of my life, knowing what my Ru is. He's a creator of my Ru, therefore he's created the master design of my life. That's my fate. Within that master design, I have two voices. He's given me two voices. And it's my free will on which voice I choose to pay attention to more. And over time, how in love I begin to be with myself, the more I look away from the voice on the left, the character on the left of the stage, and turn my attention to the character on the right who's not saying a word, and how in love that I begin to be with that character. And as that character begins to connect his energy with mine, his light with mine, and I begin to connect my light with his, and the kind of receiving, the kind of blessing, the kind of rahmah that I'm receiving over time, as I begin to practice to keep my eye more on the right side of the stage on that character, मेरी आंख जब लेफ्ट साइड पे जाएगी, जब लेफ्ट साइड पे जाएगी, क्योंकि मैं अपने आप को ये नहीं कह सकती कि अब मैं इतना प्यार हो गया मुझे अल्लाह ताला से कि मुझे वो लेफ्ट साइड का नज़र नहीं आ रहा, क्योंकि ये भी नफ्स का एक धोखा है. बिकॉज आपकी आंख जाएगी जब तक आपका सांस है, और जब तक आपकी सांस है, आपकी आंख, अगर if till you breathe, if your eye is going, when your eye is going to go to the left side of the stage, the training is to bring it back as quickly as you can, as smoothly as you can to the right side of the stage again, and connect back with the rhythm of light that you've connected with your creator, that you've created with your creator, you've activated with your creator. So shak is a breach. Doubt is a breach in our energy field. That's all it is. That's all it is. And Allah loves those. Allah loves those. Because एक तो उनके पैगंबर, उनके नबी हैं, right? जिनके अंदर, जिनका शक था, जो उन्होंने जब fill किया तो उनके कितना, like the maqam that they were given, elevated. And Allah loves those people who fill their cracks with the zikr of Allah. And you know that ancient Chinese thing where when they fill the cracks with gold, Allah loves those people, subhanallah. The ones who return again and again and again, awab. The ones who return to me again and again and again, awab. Allah loves those people who fill their cracks Because Allah Ta'ala never assumes or never expects. He does not have an unjust expectation of them कि हमारे cracks नहीं होंगे. Doubt है, शक होगा हमारी energy field में. Allah loves the gold that we fill those cracks with. And that gold is simple. Depending on the qalb from which that word is rising, healing can happen with Allah. That's it. We do nothing. We need nothing. Allah. Kun fayakun. It's done. Depending on the qalb from which that word, that call has come. Or it can be Alhamd Sharif, or it can be Surah Rahman, or it can be Charkul, or it can be the whole of Quran. Whoever you are, whichever qalb that you're coming from a place of, that is the gold we fill the cracks with. And subhanAllah, there is one dua which I recite every day, and I was sharing that with a friend of mine. Like, I realized that about 33 duas that I recite every morning. And all of those duas have been given to me at different points in my life. So it's a collection, it's my own treasure trove. Because I remember the moments in which those duas have been given to me. And one of those duas has the word shak in it. And I love that because it reminds me who I'm praying to. And it's the dua of Hazrat Zakaria. This is Surah Maryam, Ayah 4. And I will read the English, like the part of dua that I read is Walam akun bi du'aika rabba shaqiya. And the whole ayah is Qala rabbi inni wahnal azmu minni washta al rasu shayban walam akun bi du'aika rabbi shaqiya. And he says, my Lord, surely my bones have become brittle and grey hair has spread across my head. But, and this is the part of my dua, I have never been disappointed in my dua, in my prayer to you, my Lord. Walam akun biduaika rabbi shaqiyan. I have never been disappointed in my prayer to you. कि मेरी दुआ में कोई शक नहीं. And shak in this context is wary. Because shak, what does doubt instill in us? We get wary, we get tired. We get disappointed, we get tired. It's like, कब से मैं दुआ मांग रही हूँ, कब से मैं ये चाह रही हूँ, कब से मैं दुआ कर रही हूँ कि मेरे ये हालात चेंज हो जाए, ये चीज़ शिफ्ट हो जाए. मैं इधर इस जकड़ में कब से फंसी हूँ. And Hazrat Zakaria is 93 years old. And look at how he speaks to Allah as if he's talking to somebody who is deeply, deeply connected to him. जैसे आप अपने the way that you talk to somebody जो आपका अपना हो. Because look at how intimately he's saying. He's like, my bones are brittle. और मेरे बाल जो है वो सफ़ेद हो गए हैं. मेरी हड्डियाँ सूख गई हैं और मेरे बाल सफ़ेद हो गए हैं. And look at what he's saying. But my Allah, my Rabb, never have I been disappointed in my dua from you. Never have I been disappointed. उनकी दुआ का जो शक है, although this dua in itself is a way for him to fill the crack, you see, उनको हो रहा है, कोई शक हो रहा है, पर उस शक में वो अल्लाह ताला को याद करा रहे हैं कि मैं तो नहीं आपको. I've never been disappointed in my dua from you. I've never been disappointed. And it's a beautiful reminder of how Hazrat Zakaria, I love this dua because जब आपका डाउट होता है, डाउट है आपकी ज़िंदगी में, आपका ये चीज़ नहीं चेंज हो रही, वो चीज़ नहीं चेंज हो रही, ये नहीं हो रहा, वो नहीं हो रहा, तो शक तो है, डाउट तो है. There is a breach in my energy field. Now when there is a breach in my energy field and I choose not to fill that breach, right, with that gold of Allah, which is a zikr of Allah, but I choose not to fill that breach, what will happen? That means I have an opening in my energy field. Because I am electromagnetic as an energy, it's the way that I'm created, I will magnetize more people towards me, towards the crack of me, towards the shak of me, who are also carrying the same doubt. Similar doubt. It might be about another life circumstance. I'll magnetize one person. I'll magnetize another conversation. I'll magnetize a podcast. I'll magnetize tarot card reader. I will magnetize a friend's conversation. I will magnetize overhearing a colleague's conversation. I will magnetize my another problem. I will become a magnet because I have chosen not to fill that breach in my energy field जो doubt से create हुआ है. क्योंकि breaches तो होने हैं, वो बरहक है, बट हमारा काम उनको फिल करना है. जब उनको मैग्नेटाइज करती हूँ हम अपने पास, अब वो मैग्नेटाइज होके अब वो क्रैक, बिकॉज now visualize it, right? There was a very thin crack. I am now magnetizing other people who see an opening and they want to enter through that crack. Now, when one person wants to enter through that crack, वो crack को थोड़ा सा बड़ा करके अंदर दाखिल होंगे, another person थोड़ा सा बड़ा, अब वो gap widen हो रहा है. If I'm choosing not to address that crack, वो अब और widen हो गया, अब और widen हो गया. अब चूंकि I am now surrounded by voices of doubt, अब मेरी नज़र constantly left side of the stage वाले character के ऊपर है. अब मेरे लिए वो left side of the stage वाला character की now somehow his words are making so much more sense. Now sometimes I cannot stop listening to his dialogue. Now my eyes are constantly riveted on the left side of the stage. And because I am full of doubt, because my crack is really wide, anything that I was holding within myself, things that were working out for me, also begin to fall outside the crack, out of the crack, you see? और हम लोग अब वो भी बाहर गिरना शुरू हो जाती हैं. फिर एक और बंदा who is most full of doubt comes to my life and said, let me fix your crack for you. Which, by the way, is a red flag. Let me fix this crack for you. This banda, because he himself must be so full of doubt that he's attracted to your crack. And now he's come into your breach, your energy field, which is breached, and he's saying, let me fix this energy field for you. And because the breach in your energy field is already so wide, and because it was so wide, things that were good within you, your energy field, were also spilling out. You really want to trust this person who is saying, let me fill that gap for you. And so you begin to give your power away to that person. But guess what? That person is still on the left side of the stage. He is still not the voice of Allah. Whoever that person may be, any person who says, I can fix this for you, is a person of doubt. जिसकी energy field में बहुत ज़्यादा cracks हैं. Let me handle this for you. Person of doubt, उसकी energy field में बहुत ज़्यादा cracks हैं. वो फिर भी अल्लाह की आवाज़ नहीं. अब जब आपने उस बंदे को या उस बंदी को भी इजाज़त दे दी है अपने एनर्जी फील्ड में दाखिल होने की, now it's one of those cracks on glass which inevitably spread, or on our phones. छोटा सा crack आया और वो एक पॉइंट आएगा, आपका ग्लास शैटर हो जाएगा. And that, of course, depending on who we are, is a beautiful wake-up call. Again, जब एक बिल्कुल ही जब आप shatter हो जाते हो, again is a wake-up call for us to shift our gaze from the left side of the stage to the right side of the stage. जहाँ पे there is a silent character who is my creator, who will never leave this stage. I want us to feel into it. Subhanallah, till we breathe, that silent character on the right side of the stage will never leave the stage. अगर उस पे चार और on the left side of the stage पूरा caravan भी आ जाए of doubts and fears, पूरा circus लग जाए, full on like theatrical show हो रहा हो, this person will never leave the stage because they are there waiting for you. Awab, waiting for you to turn to them, to turn our inner eye to them. And that's the light of our Creator. That's the light of our Creator. And how do we feel that when the moment we turn our eye towards Him, the first goal we are given is in the names of Allah, Ya Haadi. The one who gives Hadayah. The one who shows Hidayat is what? The one who shows the way, the right way, the only way, the haq way, the way of light, the way of ease, the way of most benefit. Ya Haadi. So if we can take our eye away, even for a second, from the left side of the stage and bring it to the right side of the stage where my Creator is standing, waiting for me in silence. How do you connect your heart light with His heart light? Obviously, it's already connected, but your mind is saying it's not connected. So how do you tell your mind, okay, I'm connecting my heart light with my Creator light? How do you say, Ya Haadi, guide me. guide me. And what are we asking for when we say, Ya Haadi? What we're saying is, let your voice be louder than the voice of this circus. Enable my ears, my inner knowing, my inner hearing, enable my inner knowing such that your voice within me is louder than the voice of the circus. In every moment, Ya Haadi. In every moment, Ya Haadi. Let your voice be the louder voice. To ask for the fact that it may be the only voice is a prophetic dua. And maybe if we are on that journey, then subhanAllah, I'm not. And so all I'm asking from Allah Ta'ala is, let your voice be the louder one. And the beautiful acknowledgement that I'm giving in this moment is, Allah Ta'ala, I am insan. I seek your guidance, Ya Haadi. I seek your light. I do not want to be deviated. I do not want to be led astray by my ego, which tells me that I am already lit. I do not want to be led astray by my ego, which is saying, नहीं नहीं थोड़ी देर और इस सर्कस को देख लो, आप तो बहुत rooted हो ना, आप तो बहुत spiritually strong हो, कोई बात नहीं, सर्कस को थोड़ी देर और देख लो, आपके अंदर क्या होगा, बहुत कुछ होगा. It is that delicate. It is, our iman is that delicate. Our qalb is made to turn. It is never constant. It is never constant. No matter who we are, even if we are the what are they called? The leaders of the mosque, whoever, it is never constant, except for the ones that Allah Ta'ala blessed, and those are the prophets. And those two had to really go down trials that, astaghfirullah, the beautiful last dua of Surah Baqarah, do not lay upon us a burden that you've laid upon our ancestors, our Malik, because we cannot face those trials. So let your voice be louder than the voice on the left, Ya Haadi. And then you combine this with, because it'll take time. Because we're people born in a circus. And we have 5 senses which are made to tune into the circus. And the practice of looking away from the circus is not an easy practice. Once you begin to practice it, it becomes easier. To start it is not an easy practice, you see. So, Ya Haadi, the second word, Ya Saboor, the name of Allah that you combine Ya Haadi with, to fill in that gap in your energy field of doubt and fear. Ya Haadi, Ya Saboor. And Sabr, Saboor, which is a constant form of Sabr. Ya Saboor, the root word of Sabr, you know, is what? To remain constant in every situation. To not be turned by the illusion of an external situation. Your qalb mutmain is Saboor. Mutmain, in submission. In submission. Zameen ke saath baitha hua, laga hua, mutmain. Zameen ke saath matha laga hua, mutmain is Saboor. In a constant stage of sajda, as we walk through the world, as we walk through the trials of this world, which are promised, as we walk through the trials of nafs, as we walk through the trials of people, as we walk through the trials from Allah, which are also promised, remember? 3 different kinds of trials which are promised. As we walk through those trials, let a part of our qalb, if not all of it, because we are not prophet, but let a part of our qalb constantly be assigned, constantly be in a state of sajda to the will of my Creator. And it is possible. We are so used to thinking of ourselves as gosht ke lothre, as these solid human beings, that we forget that we are multidimensional souls, and that's who we are. We are multidimensional souls first. That means that even when a part of us is living the human life, we can command a part of ourselves, a part of our nafs, because we exist as fractal cells within ourselves. Command a part of yourself to constantly be in sajda to your Creator, such that even when the left side of your nafs pulls you towards the circus, even when there is a pull that you're generating back to the right side, it's like you are rigging your mizan, your own mizan in a way. You're giving it more weight ताकि वो जमीन के साथ लगा रहे, ऊपर ना जाए. भारी हो mizan with the light of your creator, and halka ho the other side of your mizan. You see? Now visualize the stage as a mizan. The left side, which is halka, which constantly goes up and down depending on how much attention you're paying to it. But it is halka in nature. You know, in Surah Kahf, this beautiful, beautiful ayah in Surah Kahf, what does Allah Ta'ala say? Say, we give them, this is ayah 45. Allah Ta'ala says, give them a parable of this worldly life. It is like the plants of the earth thriving when sustained by the rain we send down from the sky. They then soon turn into chaff scattered by the wind. And Allah is fully capable of doing all things. And so what is the meaning of this world? What is the value of this world? Chaff, straw, separated from the seeds, straw. जो एक हवा होती है उड़ जाते हैं, तो वो वाकई ही left side of your mizan is halka, straw. Let the right side of your mizan always be put a part of your soul in sajda, ताकि उसके अंदर भार इतना हो आपके अपने सजदे का to your Allah, constantly in sajda के जब आपकी आंख इधर जाए to the left side of the stage, जब आपके कदम उधर उठे, जब आपका हाथ उधर उठे, जब आपकी नज़र उधर उठे, वो ज़्यादा देर वहाँ ठहर ना सके. Because you have assigned a bhar of you, a weight of you in sajda to your creator. Always, no matter what you're doing, that is the gift that Allah Ta'ala has given us. Ya Haadi, ya Saboor, it's a gift that He's given us. Assign a part of your practice at this, and we can only assign a part of ourselves to be constantly in sajda when we have practiced gazing at our beloved. When we have practiced gazing at our beloved, which is meditation, which is zikr, which is namaz, which is fikr, which is reflection, which is sitting down in contemplation, in a conversation, which is meeting our Rabb constantly, such that the voice of Allah is louder, it becomes stronger and brighter. That's when we can assign a part of ourselves to constantly be in sajda. And that part of ourselves will constantly be in sajda, because you are not, we are not, I am not my ego, I am not myself. There's a part of my ruh which is constantly sitting with my creator, with my Allah. I choose to associate myself with that part of my ruh, even when I'm walking the earth, doing other things in life, some I'm proud of, some I'm not proud of. But I go back at all times, through my shame and through my guilt, I go back to the part of my ruh that is sitting with my Allah, which is in submission to my Allah. And I let that be the driving force. I let that be the louder voice within myself, when myself says, aren't you ashamed of yourself? This is what you're doing. This is what you're doing wrong. This is what you have not fixed. You have such a long way to go. All of these voices of doubt and fear, I let them play out, because I say, okay, you're right, आप सही हो, मैं आपको deny नहीं करूँगी, मैंने आपको shut down नहीं करना, मैंने में नहीं इतनी हिम्मत. All I will do is, even as you're delivering your monologue of everything that's wrong with me, I will shift my eye to the voice of my Allah, who is saying, hey, come to me, Madiya. You're sitting with me. You're holding my hand. Keep holding my hand. Focus on my hand. The voice, my doubt says, you're not good enough. You have nothing to say. You have nothing to give. Allah Ta'ala says, I am telling you what you're worth. This is my hand. Feel my hand in yours. You see, these parallel voices is the human condition. And the only training we're asked to do through this voice of duality, through this shadow and light, is to train ourselves to hold on and to recognize that He is holding on to our hand as well. And through this dua, wala makun bi duaika rabba shatiya, remind yourself, I've never been disappointed. Yes, my doubt and fear will tell me कि मेरी दुआ पूरी नहीं हुई. And my light tells me, Allah's hand in my hand tells me, तुम्हारी दुआ को तो मुझे नहीं पता, अभी जो कुछ हो रहा है ना तुम्हारी जिंदगी में, अगर ये ना होता तो तुम किसी खाई में होती. अभी जो ये हो रहा है ना, उसके लिए अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह कह दो आप एक दफा. And I say, okay, alhamdulillah. And that is when the voice goes a little less. Because when we say Ya Haadi, we are saying enable my eye to turn from the left side of the stage to the right, Ya Haadi. When we say Ya Saboor, usually, you know, the way sabr, the word sabr is used, it's usually paired with sabr and jameel in Quran. Not usually, but in 2 or 3, in many instances, it's been paired with sabr and jameel. And that's a beautiful sabr. And you know what that beautiful sabr is? Sabr Jameel. Jameel, of course, Jamal is also a name of Allah. Jameel is to be able, the sabr, the patience to be able to see the beauty, Jameel, to be able to see the beauty in the most difficult situations of our life. So when we say Ya Haadi, Ya Saboor, we are enabling our eye to turn from the left side of the stage to the right side of the stage. Ya Saboor, to remain, to be engaged on the right side of the stage. Let us hear Allah's story, Allah's version of what is happening in my life. So for example, ABC is happening in my life. The left side of the stage is saying, it's happening because you did this, this, this. It is karma. It's happening because unki nazar lagi. It's happening because my jadoo hua. It's happening because tum to worthy nahi ho. It's happening because tum to bahut badi gunegar ho. Ye sari voices left side. Acha ji. Right side, Ya Haadi, Ya Saboor. I come to the right side of the stage. Right side, Allah Ta'ala said, wait a minute. Just stop for a second. Let those voices play out. वो अभी चल रहा है, वो monologue कर रहे हैं. Ya Haadi, look at me. Keep your eye, keep your gaze fixed at me. Ya Saboor, now. With the eye that is fixed upon me, I give you my inner knowing, my inner seeing. Now you're seeing from divine perspective. Now seek the beauty within the situation that you're in right now. Seek it, for I enable you to seek it. Ya Saboor. The situation does not change. We only practice listening to the beauty in that situation. We only practice Ya Haadi, Ya Saboor, shifting our eye from the left to the right. And when we do, we become so riveted by the story that Allah Ta'ala, the inner knowing that Allah Ta'ala has gifted us with. We become so in love with, आप ढूंढने लगते हो कि अल्लाह ताला ने ये ब्यूटी दे रहे हैं, ये मुझे दे रहे हैं. Through this situation, I was thinking that about the situation. And Allah Ta'ala is saying, no, the truth of it is this. Ye mujhe beauty de rahe. You become so riveted in it that you forget about the situation, or you don't care about the situation because you are just focused on receiving the depth of the beauty that Allah Ta'ala has gifted you with through only that situation. The more you focus, the more you're riveted. The situation does not even need to exist, and the situation shifts automatically. Or you are so engrossed in the beauty of that situation that Allah Ta'ala Hidayat, Ya Haadi, Ya Saboor, Allah Ta'ala is giving you the guidance of the beauty of that particular difficult situation that you're in. You love the fact that you have your Rabb who is guiding you to seeing the inner truth within that situation, one, and then he's also saying, hey, by the way, this is the way through it. And you're like, what? Really? And it's like, yeah, really, go for it. So you receive everything that you need to receive through Ya Haadi, Ya Saboor. You need no one. You need nothing. You don't need to shut down your thoughts. You don't need to shut out the bad voice. You only need to tune in to your Allah voice. Everything else will happen automatically. You only need to exercise your divine free will. And the good news is our divine free will is rigged towards light. Always, always. Because it is rooted in our soul. And the left side of the stage, Vasvasa, has no roots. It might have magnificent gold gilded structures and flashy multimedia screens and immersive virtual tours. But it has no roots. It is like chaff. अपने हाथ में रख के फूंक मारो. Say Allahu Akbar. and it's gone. It has nothing. It has no roots. और दूसरी तरफ वो नूर है, दूसरी तरफ वो नूर है जिसकी रूट्स इतनी स्ट्रांग है कि दुनिया खत्म हो जाए वो नूर नहीं हिल सकता अपनी जगह से. That is the nature of divine light. And the other one, rootless, shadow, हवा, एक फूंक से खत्म हो जाने वाली चीज, is the nature of fear and doubt. And so, especially when we find ourselves gripped, जब हम लोग इसकी हसार में आए हैं, gripped by fear and doubt or with fear and doubt, you visualize them literally as if कि आप अंदर हो और आपके आसपास एक shell है, and very delicate shell, like a robin's egg shell, like a very delicate, like a frail, like a mother of pearl shell, जो हर साथ crack हुआ है और वो cracks के अंदर से gaps नजर आ रही. You visualize your energy feel like that, and you, with your breath, you recite, say, Ya Haadi Ya Saboor, Ya Haadi Ya Saboor, and visualize as if with each of your Ya Haadi Ya Saboor, you are filling it with a gold filling. And as long as it takes, थोड़ी fill करो, और कुछ करना ही नहीं है यार. Literally give yourself 5 minutes. If you're a mother, your father, a sister, a brother, whoever, what are you doing? Oh, I just need 5 minutes to go and fill in my cracks today with gold. Thanks. Sit for 5 minutes every day. Fill in those cracks. Fill in those cracks until when you do a scan of your energetic body, close your eyes, do a scan. अपने आगे देखो, अपने right पे देखो, अपने पीछे देखो, अपने left देखो, अपने ऊपर देखो, अपने नीचे देखो. जब हर क्रैक में गोल्ड भर जाए, या हादी या सबूर पढ़ के, उसके बाद अगली जो चीज़ आपको करनी है वो खुद ही आपको अल्लाह ताला से आपको मिल जाएगी. But for now, we commit to filling in our cracks with gold, with Ya Haadi Ya Saboor. That's all. That's all we're being asked to do. And the more we commit to filling in the cracks, what we're essentially doing is getting into the practice of keeping our gaze fixed on the right side of the stage. That's all we're doing. And that's all we're doing. And with this practice, do it at the least of 21 days, at least 21 days. With this practice, ये हो नहीं सकता कि आपको अपने ही सहर का, because what is the word used for magic, for doubt? सहर, it's an illusion. उसको खुद ही आपको इस धुआं दिखना शुरू हो जाएगा और खुद ही आपको किसी और की फूंक की जरूरत नहीं है यार. आपकी फूंक, the breath which has been saying Subhanallah, the breath which has been saying Ya Haadi Ya Saboor, can you feel into the power of that breath? और उस breath के साथ जिसके साथ अब या हादी या सबूर पड़े, अपने लेफ्ट साइड ऑफ द स्टेज के ऊपर एक फूंक मार दो बस. Say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah and do, like, just blow once. There is no magic, there is no doubt, there is no fear that can sustain, because it has no roots. Once you breathed onto it with a breath that has been committed to the zikr of Allah, you are your own healer. You are your own breaker of spells. You are your own generational trauma breaker. You're your own magician. You have it. You have your Allah waiting on the right side of the stage. I have my Allah waiting on the right side of my stage. And I want to briefly share before I close this as to that about 3 weeks ago when I received Ya Haadi Ya Saboor. तो अब बताए, आपको ये मिलते हैं नाम, आपको ये दिए जाते हैं, ये आपको अता किए जाते हैं, हर एक को, मुझे नहीं, आपको ये अता किए जाते हैं. My moment of doubt, because I'm insan, my moment of doubt is what? Because abhi a friend of mine, I was having a conversation with her, and she was saying, how is your iman so mazboot? I was like, I was just given Ya Haadi Ya Saboor 3 weeks ago. Because एक तरफ मैं कहती हूँ कि वो मेरा राज़िक है, वो मेरा मालिक है. दूसरी तरफ एक औरत मुझे आके कहती है, hey listen, I feel like मैंने आपकी एनर्जी स्कैन किया है. Random woman that I'd met, like, and I'm inshallah not going to meet again, but if I do, why? Inshallah meet, and maybe it's for a mutual benefit, and inshallah. So anyway, she said कि मैंने आपकी एनर्जी फील्ड स्कैन की है और आपकी ना थोड़ा मुझे फाइनेंशियल डिस्ट्रिक्शन लग रही है, तो आई मैं आपकी मदद करती हूँ। आई हैव हर्ड सो मेनी पीपल एंड आई हील पीपल विद अल्लाह एंड आई हील पीपल विद नेम्स ऑफ अल्लाह। मैंने कहा जी बेस्ट है, यही वो इंसान थे जिसकी मुझे आई वॉज वेटिंग फॉर दिस इंसान, राइट? So I set up a session with her. The session was supposed to be at 1 o'clock. I had no meetings at that 1 o'clock. She messaged, she said, अभी मुझे 10 मिनट चाहिए। वो 10 मिनट गुजरे, शी मैसेज, शी सेड मुझे एक और 10 मिनट चाहिए। जब उसने दूसरी दफ़ा मैसेज किया ना कि मुझे और 10 मिनट चाहिए, it was the only opening that I had. It's given a simple opportunity. And Allah Ta'ala is like, किधर जा रही हो बेटा, मेरे पास आओ ना। I swear to God, those 10 minutes, and I said, I don't want to do the session. I'm not going to another person to heal any part of my energy cracks. You. And then I said, I don't want to do that session. She said, I'm free now. We can do it in 20. I said, I'm not going to do that session. Not that. It didn't feel right. It wasn't a normal session, you know. It didn't feel right. I knew. And then later, 10 minutes later, I was given a clear knowing of what that session was going to be about. Why that did not happen. Alhamdulillah, why that could not happen. Or saath hi, in the same breath, within 3 seconds, Allah Ta'ala said, recite Ya Haadi. Recite Ya Haadi. And I was trembling with tears when I was given this name of Allah. Because उस वक्त अल्लाह ताला ने क्या एक्नॉलेज किया था कि मदिया बेटा आपको हिदायत की ज़रूरत है इस वक्त, आप मेरा ना ये नाम डिसाइड करो, या हादी। And interestingly, I didn't know, and that's the beautiful system of Allah. Because no matter how much we believe, we know we don't know. I did not know what to recite with Ya Haadi. Guess who I asked? The same woman that I was going for the session. I said, listen, so I've just received the word Ya Haadi, the name of Allah, Ya Haadi. तो उसके साथ में क्या पढ़ूं? तो उन्होंने कहा या सबूर पढ़ेंगे। Subhan Allah. You see, once you commit to your own light, once you listen to your own light, not only do you benefit, not only are you shown your own cracks, not only are you shown your own limitation and your own smallness, you are elevated through it. Subhanallah, may Allah Ta'ala actually be doing that. And if it is my ego, then it is from my ego and it's not from Allah. And Allah Ta'ala forgive me. Astaghfirullah and auzubillah min shaitanir rajim. But not only do you benefit, other people, no matter who they are, will always benefit. So Ameen Rabbil Alameen, Ya Haadi Ya Saboor, Ya Haadi Ya Saboor, Ya Haadi Ya Saboor, the gold with which we fill our cracks.